Welcome to IFA. I fix everything.
Today's project is a Norelco SensoTouch razor with a dead battery. It was a bucket list item for an elderly man who used it once. The razor sat for many years in brand new condition. Now it will no longer take a charge. I checked Norelco's website for a battery. They don't authorize a repair. They simply state, remove the battery and dispose of it properly before discarding the razor. I purchased the lithium battery with the included Torx screwdriver from Amazon for less than $7. To determine the correct battery, I had to disassemble the razor. Because I'm using an old, inexpensive soldering iron, I plugged it in as I disassembled the razor so it would reach temperature by the time I was ready. To disassemble the razor, begin by removing the head assembly. The head is held in place with a spring clip. Pull up to disengage the head from the body. Disassembly of the body is straightforward. There is one screw on the rear of the razor. The screw head is a Torx bit combination slot head screw. I used a common screwdriver to remove the single screw. Have a dish or cloth to capture the screw to keep it from rolling away. It's easy to form a gap in the rear cover with just a thumbnail. I found it easiest if you apply thumb pressure as shown in the photo to disengage the hooks, and the cover will remove easily. Next, form a gap between the rubberized trim ring and the front cover. It will lift right off. Insert a screwdriver at this location and gently twist it to release the hooks at the base of the front cover. Pivot the front cover similar to the rear cover and release the front hooks. To remove the watertight clear plastic cover, I compressed the latch with my thumbnail and inserted a screwdriver into the seam. I rotated it slightly to lever open the cover. Notice there is a latch on each of the long sides. Gently slide the screwdriver up at the latch and release it. The last latch at the top will pivot free. With a little practice, this disassembly will take less than 5 minutes. The circuit board is nested in this opening, but it is not latched in place. Lift the circuit board free and you will find the battery attached below. The next step is very important. Take a photograph of the battery prior to removal. This will be used to determine the correct polarity when you install the new battery. The black stripe is the positive battery terminal and it's facing the motor. Now it's time to desolder and remove the battery. A set of helping hands was used to elevate the circuit board for easier access to the battery. As you melt the solder, gently lift the battery solder tab so it aligns with the hole. As the solder melted, I levered the battery free with a hooked scribe. Then I repeated the process on the opposite end. Here's a close-up of the circuit board terminal holes for the battery. Notice how the negative terminal completely encapsulates the end of the battery cell. The new battery terminal is wired with a black wire. The positive terminal has a small center pin. I slipped the two battery tabs through the hole, leaving the original wires intact. I folded the negative battery terminal and removed the black plastic cover. Although I soldered the negative battery terminal first, in the future I would always solder the positive first. This would help to discharge any electricity from the soldering iron to the ground circuit. I used a pair of end nippers to remove the red plastic terminal cover. The red surface-mounted LED illuminated as I soldered the battery. I believe this was the recharge LED. This was the most life this razor had seen in at least 7 years. Be sure to use lead-free silver solder for electronics. With the soldering complete and the LED letting me know I had a complete circuit, I trimmed the tabs of the battery. I placed the circuit board back in position. I reinstalled the waterproof cover, starting with the top latch and snapping it in place and listening for the click of each of the latches. Before fully assembling the razor, I pressed the power button and listened for the minor hum of the motor. The recharge LED came on too. Next, I slipped the rubberized trim ring in place so I could test the recharging ability of the razor. I placed it in the stand, ensuring it had good contact, and then plugged in the power supply. With the white charging LED flashing, I felt the razor was recharging properly and was ready to be reassembled. I removed the trim ring and began with the front cover, first engaging the hooks and then pivoting and snapping it into place. Next, I reinstalled the trim ring. It has no latches. Next, I reinstalled the rear cover. I engaged the upper latches and pivoted into place and installed the screw with the Torx screwdriver that came with the battery. Before completing the final assembly, I retested the power switch. The battery was weak, but the light came on. I snapped the cutting heads back into position and began charging the razor. The final cost was about $6. The final value is well over $100. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this short video on how to replace a battery in a Norelco razor. As always, subscribers are always welcome.